This is Starry Ari's ASMR. I am Ari, and today in this cozy video, I want to sit down for a bit and color this lovely fall picture. So I am really excited to be getting into fall, and if you didn't know, Crayola actually has a bunch of free to print pictures, and so I printed this off on some cardstock paper and I want to fill it in. So I have a lovely candle back here, and I'm feeling just very cozy, comfy, and I'm hoping that you will be able to hear some of the sounds as I'm coloring, and also just kind of as I'm chit-chatting. So I have some coloring pencils over on this side. I actually have 3 little bins of them, so these ones are kind of these more muted colors. So there's black and brown, kind of these gold mustardy tones. Got some deep blues and purples. And this one has purples and blues, moving into greens. And my last one over here has lots of reds and oranges and yellows. So lots of lovely colors. And I'm thinking for my picture, I want it to be really kind of like color drenched, very fall. You look at it and you just think fall. So I think I kind of want it to be very muted. Lots of warm colors, deep browns. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'm thinking what I might do is get started on these sunflower petals. And I actually thought that I maybe had a yellow color that was called sunflower, but I'm not actually too sure. I do set some of these over off to the side just to get a little bit more space. So this color here is called sunflower. So this is definitely what I want to use to fill in my sunflower petals. I also set up my newish, it's not really all that new anymore, but my external mic, and I'm hoping that when I listen back to the sound, it will be good enough to use. But if not, I will just end up using my phone microphone. But I know my phone doesn't really pick up the sound of the coloring very well. So I'm hoping that this microphone will, because I do really enjoy the sound of colored pencils. I love sunflowers. I think that they are such a crazy flower to see, just how tall they grow. It's just kind of wild. We have a couple of houses near us that have some really, really beautiful so tall and just absolutely gorgeous. And they have them planted like right in front of their windows, which is kind of smart because in the fall they just like completely cover up the windows and they get to look out and just see the pretty sunflowers. I've also started wearing some more sweaters inside. It's still a little bit too warm in the afternoons to wear sweaters for all day, but it's been getting kind of chillier here. In the mornings it's been maybe like low 40s, so we expect we're gonna definitely get into the 30s soon. I'm also realizing my lighting is kind of casting a shadow directly onto what I'm coloring. So hopefully my camera can still pick it up okay. I don't really color very often, and as you'll see, I'm very amateurish at it. I don't really do like shading or, fun things like that. I just kind of like to sit down and just fill in the colors. Not really think about anything too much. And this picture I actually printed out last fall, and I just ended up never coloring it in, so I thought for this fall I would do that instead of printing out new ones. I think I might also have some like Christmas ones from last year that I printed out but just never did. So I'll have to double check that when it comes around Christmas time before I print out new coloring sheets. So my morning walks with our dog, they've been quite a bit chilly, and I've been having to wear a hat, especially if it's like windy at all. I can't deal with the wind. And I've been wearing my slightly warmer jacket. But then it's kind of trippy because then it gets to be like 80 degrees in the afternoon, so it's like you can't really plan one outfit for the day. You have to have like two different outfits. So we're kind of in that weird in between. But I did see a year ago, exactly, I think yesterday, a year ago, I had screenshotted our weather app because we had a frost advisory. So that was kind of crazy to me. We don't really have any crazy big plans for this fall, mainly because I am very, very busy in my master's program. So we've tried to kind of have a more calm social life, just so that I could focus on that. But we are definitely still planning on going to a pumpkin patch, and we're maybe going to go to a corn maze, which I love. I love corn mazes. I'm gonna fill in these little bits of these petals. Okay. I think that looks pretty good for the sunflower. I think I'm also gonna do these little ones in the same color. I could do them a slightly different color, but like I said, I kind of want this to be like almost like monochromatic, kind of, but not quite. Like I'm not doing these all in yellows, but I want it to be very muted and cozy looking and just like breathes fall. We do have quite a few pretty decent sized corn mazes, so we do always like to do that. It's always kind of fun, and some of the places around us do haunted corn mazes, and I'm like about haunted houses, you know. Like, yeah, I could take them or leave them, but they're kind of fun to do every now and then, especially if you have like a group of friends to go with. But I do have a funny story from one haunted house. That year for Halloween was going as Lara Croft from Tomb Raider, and I had a backpack. It was like a utility backpack and everything, and we were like with a big group of friends our first year of college, and we were all like going through as a group, and we had this clown chasing us. So this clown was like chasing us through this like huge, it was the largest haunted house setup that I'd ever been in. It was actually like a warehouse, and they had like, you know, created like walls and rooms and everything, so it was crazy. But we're like running away from this clown, and my backpack got stuck. We had to squeeze through this like narrow tunnel of like netting and like tulle hanging down and everything, and one of these straps in my backpack got stuck in the netting. And our group, I was at the back of the group, kind of like, you know, trying to be brave. And our group was like moving along and didn't realize that I was stuck. And, well, actually one of our really good friends did realize I was stuck. And then said, "Sorry, Ari," and like ran away. And I still hold that grudge today. But the clown actually helped me get unstuck. And he was like, "Alright, there you go." Just like perfect normal voice. That was very funny. Alright, so I have done the flowers. I think I'm gonna do the brown centers. I think I kind of want to do something like not too light but not too dark yet, because this picture does have some automatic shading in here. And then I want to do these little seed spots a little bit lighter than the back brown, so I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit. Maybe I will do this coffee color. It's kind of a deep brown, but that gives me some room to do a lighter brown for these little seeds. So I'm just gonna fill in this whole center section. I'm gonna try and go around these seeds as best I also been thinking about Thanksgiving plans and what we want to do for that. And some of my family are thinking that it would be nice to do a big family, like extended family Thanksgiving down in California, where some of my dad's family still live. And we're thinking about whether we want to do that trip, because it would be really fun and we don't get to spend a lot of just like hangout time with that family. It's mainly, like if there are big events like weddings and graduations and stuff. So it'd be really nice to have just like some fun time where we can hang out and play games and just chat. So we're kind of thinking if we want to do that, but we would also need to talk with our dog sitter and see if she is available for Thanksgiving, because I wouldn't be too surprised if she wasn't, just with it being a pretty big, holiday in the US. Like most families tend to at least get together for a dinner on Thanksgiving Day. Trying to fill in around all of these seeds so that I can just go to town in this middle section. I do love sweater weather though. I think there's something so nice about being able to just throw on a sweater, a cardigan, just over a t-shirt, and just kind of like lounge around in it. I don't know if the camera is even really going to be able to pick up like the color change in this section very much, but I promise in real life you can see a slight difference here. This candle smells so good. It's like a pumpkin harvest candle, I think is what the name of it is, like the name of the scent. And it just smells so good and so like pumpkin-y, but also kind of like rich and deep. There's some like earthy notes, so it really smells like a good pumpkin on a fall day. It is nice being able to switch out my candles for the fall season, because fall is my favorite season for scents and flavors. I just love all of the scents and flavors around this time. I think that my dog is also getting pretty excited about the cooler weather, because being a husky, the summer is kind of a bummer for her because she doesn't get to go outside as much because it's just way too hot. Okay, so I've got this brown. I'm gonna do brown around the edges think I will just do it in the center too, because it's going to look darker with that shading. Okay, so now, do I want to do a lighter or a darker color for those seeds? Because this brown kind of turned out a little bit lighter than I expected. Trying to just kind of blend in some of these pencil strokes. Let's see, maybe I will do, thinking maybe I will do something lighter, and I think I'm going to go for this turmeric color. This is kind of like a yellow, more of a gold. It's like, it's turmeric. Maybe I should have looked at a picture of a sunflower before I did this, because I don't know. I'm second guessing myself, like, the middles are usually brown, right? Just, I guess, kind of going by vibes and feels. And then for the corn, I'm not too sure, because there are some ears of corn that have like reds and like different, colors of brown and yellow in the ear, or in the kernels. But I don't know if I want to do that, or if I just want to go with one solid yellow color. I think I kind of want to just do one color. Okay. So I've done the center of the sunflower. Now I'm going to do some of these leaves in a dark green. And I don't know if this olive green is quite what I'm looking for. I'm going to test it on the back. Oh yeah, that's kind of rated. It's like very muted. So I think this is what I'm going to go for this leaf here. I don't really do as much coloring like this as I used to. And like especially a few years ago, I was like really into coloring. I think it's just a way to de-stress from everything. But I just haven't been doing it as much. I think I got into reading a bit more this year, which I really enjoyed and was actually one of my goals for the year. I didn't really set like a specific goal of, I need to read this many books or whatever, but I had a goal to reduce screen time and read books, and I've definitely done that. So that has been very nice. There have been some days where, usually I used to wake up and we would go on a walk with my dog, and then my husband and I would make our breakfast, and we usually just do something simple for each of our breakfasts, and then we would just sit around, maybe scroll our phones, or I would maybe watch a YouTube video or something in the morning, and then I would watch something while I was getting ready, or listen to a podcast while I was getting ready. And this year I really tried to make an effort to not really look at my phone in the mornings during those kind of down moments. And instead, I picked up reading during those moments. So, I mean, maybe not while I'm getting ready, but at least while I'm eating breakfast, I don't really, watch anything or listen to anything. Sometimes we would like turn on the TV, especially if we had a really slow day or like on the weekends. And we haven't been doing that as much, so that's been pretty nice. I think I'm gonna do all of these leaves, this kind of like olivey green color. Like I said, I think this is probably gonna turn out looking kind of muted and very like, maybe not as exciting, but this was kind of my vision for it. I feel like I do want to, at some point, get those really fun coloring markers that like everyone online seems to have. Mainly because they look so nice and smooth and solid. And the color just always turns out just like perfect. Whereas coloring pencils, they're definitely more of like a lighter wash of color than a marker. As a really good artist, first of all, I wouldn't do just the same color for everything, but I would also do, maybe some markers to like shade things, or different darker colors in the same shape, just to shade it a little bit. But again, I'm not doing that, and I honestly don't know that I have the artistic capability to do that. I think I'm artistic in some ways and very much not in others. Okay, I think I want to pick out like a honey gold color for that wheat. And let me look at the yellows. See if I have anything here. There is a honey color. And I think it might be a little bit more orange than what I'm looking for, but it's going to be different enough than this yellow, so I think it'll be okay. Oh no, I think that's an alright color. Maybe I will do different colors of kernels. I'll have it be one of those types of ears of corn rather than just a solid yellow, because there's already so much yellow in here, but I can do some pretty deep reds and yellows and oranges in the ear of corn, and then that'll make it kind of stand out a little bit more too. The colors of fall are just so pretty. And where I live, we don't actually get too many like our trees here in the Pacific Northwest. They're like the evergreens mostly, and we do have some leafy trees that do change color, but certainly not nearly as much as some other places. is I would love to be on the East Coast and get to see the changing of the seasons there one year, but it never really kind of works out with our vacation schedules. Usually the best time for us to take vacations is during the summer. It's a little bit harder for us to try and plan to travel outside of like break times or, in the summer. We are thinking we would like to go down to California if we can make it work, but we need to reach out to our dog sitter like now. So I know that some dog sitters get really, really booked around the holidays. So it would be good to talk to her, see if she's actually available. But we've actually only used her once, and that was pretty recently when we had to fly out of state for a wedding. And we loved her. Our dog had a great time. Our dog loved being able to just like hang out at home and not have to deal with the stress of being boarded and being around a bunch of young whippersnappers that just want to bark and play and have fun, and she just wants to nap. So she had a really good time just being able to hang out in her usual spots, sleep on her usual bed, have somebody to give her lots of belly rubs whenever she wanted. So I'm thinking this week maybe we will reach out to her, and if she is available, maybe that will be our sign that we should go for the family Thanksgiving. It would just be so nice, and it's a lot easier to do it now, so none of us cousins have kids yet, so we're all kind of able to travel a little bit easier and plan things a little bit easier now than I imagine like any other time in the future. So we would like to do that. I think that my grandma that's down there would like us to be able to do that too. Alright, I think that this wheat is colored in. So now I'm gonna do the green of the corn. And again, I want something a little bit more muted, but I don't want the olive green. I'm thinking maybe I'll do this jungle green. It's a little bit of a different hue than this one. It's a little bit brighter, but it's still kind of like toned down. It's not, like a neon green or anything like that. It would be fun, I think, for me to one day do a printout and do it more like, I think usually I kind of lean towards these like muted pictures, but like do one version where it's this kind of muted and toned down and much more just like calm, and then another version where it's just like crazy colors and really bright and neon and funky, like not something that I would usually do at all, but just like get out of my comfort zone a little bit. the exact green that I was wanting. It's brighter than the green of the leaves down here, but it's not too bright, and it's like the exact color that I feel like you see when you go to a cornfield. What we're gonna do for pumpkin carvings this year. My husband usually just kind of like freehands his and like eyeballs it and just kind of does whatever. But I grew up in a family that would like print out pumpkin stencils of like, you know, more complicated pictures, but like we had a stencil, so it's a lot easier to actually do it. I always kind of like to do a little bit of a design, but I'm not sure what I want to do this year. We went super simple with it last year. Okay, so I'm going to, I think, maybe I'll pick out a yellow color for some of these, like these kernels that are just this white that don't have any shading. I think I'll do yellow. And then kernels that have varying degrees of shading, I'll do like a nice red. So maybe I could do honey again. I feel like that's a really good like corn color, because I'm worried about the yellow or the lemon being like much too bright. This one. Do you think maybe this color works better for corn than it does for wheat? I think wheat. This one was like a little bit brighter, but that's alright. You know, I feel like I've never actually eaten an ear of corn that has the different colored kernels. I wonder, like, are those ears that you can't eat, or are those kernels like only for looking nice and not for eating? That might be a silly question. It might be like a, you know, of course they're okay to eat. I've just never really thought about it. Do you think I need to go through my sweater collection this year and get rid of some sweaters that I just haven't worn as much over the last year or so? Because I do have quite a lot of sweaters, and when I transition into my like fall, winter clothes, I have a hard time kind of going through things in my closet because I have so many sweaters, and I do love sweaters. I love being cozy. And I have a ton of cardigans that I can just like throw on, which I really enjoy. But I also have some like chunkier sweaters that I just, don't wear as much, or maybe they're a little bit itchy and so I just don't like wearing them, or like whatever the reason is. And I should just go through everything and donate what I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna wear this season. Okay. Get down to it with this corn. And then I'm thinking I do want to pick out, I think I do want to do a red. Because that'll bring a little bit of color, but like not, not too much color. Alright. So I'm going to take a look at some of these reds. Oh, there's a cinnamon. But there's also this nice, just like classic red. And I think I'm kind of leaning into this one a little bit more. Yeah, because it'll look a little bit darker with the shading on the picture. Yeah, I think that kind of looks nice, having a little bit of a pop of color, but nothing too crazy. I've been thinking about all of the fall movies and shows that are going to be in our October lineup, because we usually like to do a lot of like spookier things in October. So last year we had an alien theme, so we did a bunch of like spooky alien movies, or just interesting alien movies. So we watched, of course, the classic like horror Alien, and then we watched The Fourth Kind, which is one of those, I think it was like mid-2000s, or maybe like 2007, somewhere around there, maybe 2010, I don't know, but one of those like found footage types of movies somewhat, but there's like reenacted scenes and stuff like that. And it's kind of cheesy, but I still like it. And it's kind of spooky. I'm not usually a huge fan of, movies that are like pretending to be documentaries or something like that, or like, these were true events and they're like actually obviously very much not. But that one's definitely spooky. And of course we watched The Third Kind. And some classic X-Files. And Signs. And quite a few other. There was another one, I'm forgetting the name, but it was a newer one for us and we hadn't seen it before. And I'm forgetting what the name of it was, but there were a few newer ones that we watched. And we watched Nope. And that movie was like one of the first movies in a long time that like genuinely had me like scared scared and just like horrified. And I'm not usually a big fan of like just pure horror movies. I like psychological thrillers, things like that, things that I have to think about a little bit more rather than just like jump scares or gore. Oh, it's not Aliens, but we did watch Midnight Mass on Netflix, and we've watched that one quite a few years in a row, and it's a show. And it is, I really enjoy it. I think there are aspects of it where like the characters go into monologues so much. So if you watch it thinking that it's gonna be like a play, then I think it's good. But if you watch it thinking that it's gonna be like realistic to how actual people talk, then like reasonably so, I think it would be disappointing. But it's really, really good. It has an interesting take on vampires. I think that this is the last of my picture. I have one kernel here that's like really, really bright, and I'm wanting to fill it in a little bit more. Here we go. Alright. So here is my very muted fall coloring page. And I am glad that I added the red. And I think I probably could have done my sunflower a little bit better. I think doing the yellow seeds here wasn't the best choice. I think I could have done these centers a little bit more interestingly, but I didn't, so. But I always love kind of just sitting down for a little bit and coloring, and it's nice just not to have to think about what I'm doing very much, you know. But I hope that you enjoyed this video and just hanging out with me as I colored, and maybe just had this in the background. I hope that you are having a wonderful fall and hopefully getting into the mood and spirit of things. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day.